Deeper into the latest findings with Sean Sullivan. He is a security advisor for F-Secure. He joins us live from Helsinki. Sean, welcome back to the program. The Kremlin has responded saying basically produce some proof. So what is the most definitive proof that can be given to the Kremlin to say, yep, you're behind the hack?
Well, definitive proof would be an email chain, I suppose, saying do it. I don't think that sort of proof is going to come forward, though. What we do have is more... Sorry?
Go ahead. What do we have?
So what we do have are forensic evidence of binaries that are typical of the tools used by agencies, or tools that are used by what we believe are agencies because of the way they operate in and out of Russia. So that's the best evidence that we're going to get. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt, but it is preponderance of evidence. It does clear that bar.
But how about the evidence that it was directed all the way from the top by Vladimir Putin? How do you determine if a hack was state-sponsored, that it was sponsored or directed by the president himself?
That would be something I think that the NSA and the CIA might have resources, either the human or they do have technical access to get into the communication streams. I don't think that sort of information is the sort of thing that the Obama administration is going to make public. I don't think we need that to know that the Russians are involved, but Russian hacking is very fuzzy in the sense that whether it's an agency or if it's a privateer, because a lot of Russian hackers involved in criminal activities also do work for the government. So you can't definitively say this is this Russian agency. You only have your best leads, and you have a preponderance of evidence that suggests it's not anybody else, so therefore Russia. The only way that they could definitively prove that this was ordered by Putin, I would think, would be to have something on a communications chain. But that is what the NSA does, and so perhaps they do actually have that information.
What do you know about the Dukes? This is the cyber criminal team believed to be linked to the Russian government and believed to be behind this hack attack on the DNC. Yes.
Well, one of my colleagues here at F-Secure has done an extensive analysis of the Dukes. He took a look at the tool set from years ago until more recently, and he found something that was in between from our sample base. So he went through and figured out that this has been evolving over time, and therefore I should be able to find something between versions 2 and 4. I can go hunt and look for version 3. And indeed he did, and he found it by using the sort of forensic tools, and he looked for the signatures involved, the sort of fingerprints, if you will, of the tool sets from one year to the next, and he found samples. This is a tool that's been evolving over time. It's a tool that's used by an agency, we believe, because in the way in which it's used outside of Russia and in which it's used inside of Russia. And we don't think it would be used inside of Russia unless it was being used by an official agency, because they wouldn't dare risk coming on the wrong side of the law. So therefore, it provides very good evidence that it is something that is authorized by higher-ups.
And you can identify that something has been authorized higher up. You can identify a cybercriminal gang, but how do you bring them to justice? I mean, we know that Russia, they don't extradite citizens, but how difficult is it to even track down and find a cybercriminal?
Well, cybercriminals are a different story. I think this is a matter of nation states, and it's not a criminal court of law. So there's a lot of discussion about, is there a definitive amount of evidence, and is it beyond a reasonable doubt? That's for a criminal court of law. In civil court of law, you've got preponderance of evidence, and I think nation states probably operate somewhere in between. That they've got a preponderance of evidence that indicates to them that this is beyond, what they need it's not somebody else, therefore it is the most likely candidate. There's more than enough evidence to suggest that this is Russia. If you want to try to prove it, in a criminal court of law, I don't think there's an international criminal court, so I think that's just kind of a moot point.
Right.
So,
yeah. looking at, and if just a final question for you, I mean, looking at what Russia in the end was able to achieve, and it was able to do so undetected at the time, is cyber power the perfect weapon here to achieve a specific effect?
I think absolutely, particularly in terms of the sort of statecraft that the Russian government would like to practice. It provides a good level of plausible deniability. Again, it's not something that can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. So in order to make really hard sanctions, and apply them to a country, you have to have something that you can physically point to as a cause for action. Cyber provides sort of a web of possibilities that, it looks like it's most likely Russia, but it cannot be proven in a way that we would like to have in the real world for, like, the UN to apply sanctions against a nation state. So for nation states that have soft power goals that they want to achieve, cyber provides a very good avenue.
All right, Sean Sullivan of F-Secure joining us live from Helsinki. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.